Hey guys, welcome back to the X-Ring or the Flannel channel. Alright guys, so what we want to do today is at a request of one of my viewers, they wanted to know and they wanted me to do a video on how you determine distance using your reticle. Let's say your rangefinder's went dead, or let's say it's foggy out. And guys, there's a ton of information on the internet about this, okay? It's easy to search, it's easy to find, but I figured I would go ahead and do a quick video on how I do it and keep it really simple. Now, there are a ton of different formulas. I'm just going to show you what I use. I'm not saying it is the way, I'm just saying it is a way, and it works for me, okay? So, the most important thing for you to know is what type of reticle is in your scope. It doesn't matter the adjustments of the scope. You just need to know, do you have a mil-radian based reticle or do you have a minute of angle based reticle, okay? Manufacturers will do both. You need to know what you have. You also need to know whether or not you have a first focal or a second focal plane scope. First focal plane, you don't need to worry about what power it's on. As long as you can read the mils, you're good to go. Second focal plane, you're going to have to be on that max power or the manufacturer's recommended power. So let's keep it really simple. Let's say I'm out shooting on a range and I have a 19 by 19 square steel, and my rangefinders just gave up the ghost and they're not working. I know it's 19 inches tall, I know it's 19 inches wide, and I need to know how far that target is, okay? My rifle has a mil-radian based reticle, so I'm going to use this formula on the left here, okay? This is all I want you guys to look at right now. This is all we're concerning ourselves with. To solve using a mil or mils based reticle, what we want to do to determine the yardage is height or width in inches of whatever it is we're shooting times a constant of 27.77, okay? You don't need to know why that number's there. You just need to know that's the one you want to use. You can round up and use 27.8, but if you're doing this, go ahead and do it right. I always use 27.77. You're not going to notice the difference in yardage. It's a negligible amount, but 27.77 is your constant. And what you're going to do is once you do the height in inches times the 27.77, you're simply going to divide mils for what you've read on that target. I'll make that a little clearer here in just a second. So you've got your 19 by 19 square steel. You've got either a first focal plane or a second focal plane scope. It doesn't matter. We're going to present this as full power if you're second focal, and whatever power on first focal, doesn't matter. I've got a piece of cardboard here that's about the 19 by 19. We can either go horizontal or vertical, doesn't matter, but I need to know what my subtensions are on this mil-based reticle. A lot of reticles will have something very simple like this, where these short subtensions are half of a mil, and the long subtensions are 1 mil. So it's very simple, half, 1, 1.5, 2, so on and so forth. Same thing vertical. Horizontal, all of it's going to be the same, but you need to know what these represent, what amount, and you can usually go to your owner's manual or go online and download those if you're not sure what those numbers are. So we're going to take our 19 by 19. We're going to go on the horizontal line here. I like to put it on the left side. You put it wherever you like. It doesn't matter which quadrant or anything. It just depends on your positioning and everything else, but you want a good solid foundation. What I do is I place the corner of the target here. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to read the width of this in mils, okay? Now there's a half, there's 1, 1.5, 2. So we're over 2 mils, but not quite 2.5 mils. So I'm going to have to do some guesstimation here, if you will, because this is a half mil-radian scope as far as these subtensions go. It's not a 2/10 or anything else, it's 0.5. So knowing that we're bigger than 2, but less than 2.5, half of that would be 2 1/4 or 2.25, but I don't think it's 2.25. I think it's just shy of that. So if I were reading this square steel, 19 by 19, I would estimate this at being 2.2 mils. That's just me if I were looking at this through a scope. So what I do is that's going to be my bottom here, my divider. So I'm going to take 19, because that's inches, that's on my horizontal, times the 27.77. Then I'm going to divide that number by the 2.2. If you do that, what you're going to come up with is 240 yards. Exactly, it comes out to 239.89 yards, but 240 yards is what I would use on my dope, and I'm probably going to hit center mass on that thing, just dead center perfect. Now, it is very, very important to make sure that you get this calculation correct as far as your mils reading. The closer you are, you're not going to notice that much of a difference, but the further out you get, it makes a huge difference. So the difference between me using 2.2, and let's say you read it as 2.1. Maybe you look at this and you say, hey, you know what, that's 2.1 mils. Well, 2.1 is 251 yards as opposed to that 240 yards. So you're only looking at about 11 yards difference. Negligible. Let's say some of you said, no, I think it's 2.3. Well, 2.3 mils is going to bring us at 229 yards. Once again, 11 yards, 12 yards difference, somewhere in there, about 11 yards. So it's not that big of a deal. However, when you get out further, it gets exponential. All right, guys, so now that you've seen the mil reticle, let's talk about someone that's got an MOA-based reticle. And so let's say you've got a circle at 16 inches, and we have an MOA-based reticle. This is a very popular reticle. It's a EBR1 MOA reticle. And you'll usually have subtensions that are a little smaller. And then so that reticle has 2 MOA, 4, 6, 8, 10 MOAs. But if we take that 16-inch steel and we put it on our target, now placing it in the corner doesn't work too well on a round, okay? Now you'd be able to see the reticle in front of it, but on a round I'm usually going to go on a distance like this so that I can see it. And if you look,